think since divorce. She's a used car, well, not a used car salesman, she's a car salesman for a dealership. I don't know if it's in Purchase or where else, but yeah. She's real good.
Is she still out that way then?
Yeah.
That's a family you have kind of.
What's that?
Is her husband still out there too?
No, he lives like in, she's got a daughter that lives down in Kansas and he lives down near where their daughter does. And my sister's, my nephew runs the gas station in the business and puts falls down and speed.
Yeah, you're worn out, but he's still going. He can be sick and he'll be going.
Yeah.
Did your water tank work out for you?
Yes, I didn't have to use it, so that was.
Oh, that's great.
But that was a nice peace of mind, cause the wind come up, you know, and
Yeah.
blowing like crazy, you know.
One more minute, 3 more minutes.
Walk is fixed.
You got it. I know yesterday I was like, oh man, I've got another hour before somebody comes to relieve me at my mother's house. And I'm like, wait a second. No, she'll be here any minute. I forgot to change the clocks. Anything jump out at you?
Oh, yeah. How's Bianca doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just trying to get through March.
I know
It's my most unfavorite month.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of the transitions when it's all muddy.
I know, it's.
Yeah.
Good walk. How's it going, sir? Good.
Manning the door. Are you the
Yeah.
door?
Thank you.
Welcome.
I can see the door, so I guess I am. By default. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Oh, matters, my phone says 5.
Okay, let's do it. Let's pledge allegiance. Call this meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Approval of the minutes. Any chance to look at those, please? See anything jump out at you
It's wrong.
that's wrong? That didn't look right or needed updated?
No, I make motion to approve the minutes of our last February 10th meeting.
I second that. All in favor of aye?
Aye.
So moved. The approval of the expenditures. I just think that's just so outrageous for the bus. It's just about chokes me every time I see that.
You should look at the bill MCPS has, they're very nice.
Yeah, but they have a whole lot more people, but still, I bet it chokes them too.
Yeah, times like that times 100.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. motion to approve the payroll, $40,214.28, claims at $15,860.16, and activities of $12,392.39.
I second. All in favor of, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Lovely expenditures, the payroll. Okay, public presentations.
Well,
Were you gonna
that's
say a
good.
dance tonight, Ron?
Right?
No, do that
No,
Tuesdays.
no, that ain't gonna happen for you. Okay, communications reports.
Sorry. Here. Here you go,
Good
Jeff.
evening, everyone.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
So I'll start with some information. Just, continuing that we have the county bookmobile coming to Woodman twice a month, second and fourth Tuesdays, which will actually be tomorrow. They get here at 10:45. And the community is welcome to come too if they want to check out a book. Spring break is coming up. Next week we have no school, March 17th through 21st. And then we have no school March 31st. We have the Lions Club out on March 4th and did vision screenings on all kids. And we'll be getting those results to give to parents pretty soon electronically. So a great free service where they come out with the machine to be able to check kids' vision and see if they need a referral to go to their doctor or not. And that's all done free of charge. DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, came out to read books in grades K through 5 about President's Day. So that happened, went well. We had a successful trip up to the Lolo Pass for Snow Day. Kids went sledding and snowshoeing and got to have lots of fun, and a chili lunch up there that happened February 21st. On February 22nd, 4 students went to the Special Olympics Polar Plunge, and between the 4 students, they raised $1,825. That's quite
That's pretty cool.
something to see. I got to go down and watch that, and we even had some 2 first graders jump in that ice cold water.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And then coming up in April, on April 8th, we will be taking a field trip to the Butterfly Garden. Spring pictures will be coming up April 16th. And we have more field trips coming up the end of April and into May that I'll update you on next time. One thing I wanted to talk about is collaboration with other school districts. I updated you the past couple meetings about working with Lolo School, and we've done a couple things with Lolo. We did a middle school dance together, and we also set up that interlocal fund between our school districts that we could put money into and keep track of. So that was something we did together. The other thing we talked about is co-opting sports, and it sounds like the Lolo board might not be real gung-ho or wanting to necessarily co-op for sports. We could still kind of pursue that, talk more to them, but I actually decided to reach out to another local school district that's also a K-8 like us, and that's Target Range School District, where I happen to also know the superintendent. And so had a great conversation with him, and he is kind of looking into that. Him and the principals talked. It sounds like they might be willing to do that. So he's going to kind of talk to his board and whatnot.
What kind of sports do they have there?
So they're also in the Copper League. So all the middle schools in the area are part of the same league. So it's volleyball, track, basketball, soccer.
So if the kids were participating in that, the parents would have to get them to the practices?
Most likely, yeah, it'd be pretty difficult for the district to transport back and forth and sell what the bill is.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have options for parents and for students. So if a student really wanted to participate in one of the sports, if we co-op, then they can have that option. There would be some costs. We would have to decide. I would meet with the superintendent. We'd have to help pay some of the dues to the Copper League, which is not very much. And then some of the salaries and whatnot. But I told Jeff, who's the superintendent there, I'm like, I've got 6 middle schoolers this year. I mean, it's not gonna be a flood of kids. You know, could be 1 or 2 once a year or something. Probably wouldn't be a huge amount of kids, but it's nice to have options.
Yeah, for sure, if you have a kid that wants to be in track, you could,
But if the parents are working during the day, cause you did say it would be kind of in the middle of the day, it's not like after school.
So it's usually after school for practices,
Okay.
but sometimes the competitions, depending where it is, they're having to get out earlier in the afternoon.
Okay.
I know having been in Lolo, sometimes they would leave at 1 or so.
so the parents would be responsible for that. Yeah, cool.
I did this in high school a lot, different high school districts, we would co-op for sports. Worked pretty well.
Okay.
So I'll keep looking into that, and then if we want to pursue it, we'll have to do a formal agreement between both school boards. You'll have to agree, Target Range will have to agree, and then we'll have like a document written up.
Do we know how many kids we're gonna have in those middle school grades next year? Any idea?
This is kind of something looking forward way into the future, to be able to, like, our biggest class right now is kindergarten. And to establish that
They don't
relationship
have
though.
kindergarten schools.
They do not. But to start having these relationships with other districts and whatnot and build it now for the future, I think is what.
Is it a certain amount of time if that document was signed that we are within that league, or does it expire? Or?
So the membership to the league, I think, is every year. But not to say that we couldn't put an expiration on the document we signed between the districts. Probably either Jeff or I will run it through our lawyer too. Not a lot of, it's common for high schools to co-op, not that common for middle schools.
Do they have the same problem getting enough kids in like Target Range for different sports? For like teams? or-
No, they said sometimes they've actually run 2 teams for sports because they have enough kids, but their enrollment is down. I'd say across Montana, enrollment's down, especially in western Montana. A lot of that is people moving out of the area. Operations, I bought new rope for the flagpole, so we've got that now to fix. I am meeting with the landscaping company tomorrow to talk about, now that we're starting to move into spring, hopefully it doesn't snow more.
What's the name of that landscape?
Sutherland's.
Sutherland.
Yeah.
Jonas said he's willing to do that and bring the tractor. I guess the tractor was down. They had both their tractors down. But I told him probably not now, because I don't think you want a tractor driving over that lawn right now, do you?
Depends which way he drove in, I guess. Yeah.
Well, what way can you drive it in?
Around that way or up, depending on what type of vehicle it is, but it's kind of a steep hill.
Yeah, so your tractor at this point, would it just tear up that wet?
It might not have really like
I
that.
think we ought to wait on that
We
until
certainly
it
can.
dries up,
Four-wheel
yeah.
drive tractor will just clean the snow.
There's no super rush on it. I mean, it's
What were you
They have
saying?
those four-wheel drive John Deere tractors that might just climb right up front from the parking lot, right up to the pole.
They could, without tearing up the,
Maybe if you hit it in the morning while it's cold and the ground's still frozen, they could absolutely do it.
okay, I'll talk to you about it again.
Be worth a try, if
Yeah.
it makes it or spins out.
Yeah, I
Digs
just
a
don't wanna
hole.
tear up the lawn that you guys have been working so hard at. Okay,
So I'm gonna meet with them about the grounds, look at projects, things that need to be done upcoming for spring and summer. Also, I'm gonna talk to them about prepping the area for the volleyball court, the outdoor one. So the company's holding off on that too, but when the weather's right, we've got it all from the grant, so they're gonna come out and install that, but we need to do some weed whacking and prep for it.
Did you ever get the, well, you got benches coming, did you get a fire pit?
So we haven't bought the fire pit yet, but we've got the money for that, and the tables are right out there, those two big ones that found wants to look
So you
at.
got the tables with the fire
And
pit.
we've got the volleyball stuff, but it's at the contractor's place,
Okay.
just waiting, so. Yeah, gonna work on that, make a plan for the grounds. I did meet with our custodian, and our plan last year was that the custodian position takes a month off in July, because we don't really need the building cleaned when no one's here, and do the deep cleaning and getting ready in August, and the cleanup stuff in June, and she's great with that.
Do we pay her by the hour or a
Yes.
salary? So she'll, there's, okay.
And then the parent group, it is coming up April 18th for the spring egg hunt and the lunch. I'll have more info about that coming out after spring break. And then our spring fundraiser was gonna start today, but the catalogs got delayed through UPS somewhere. So we're trying to track down where they are. There's been some, I don't know if it's weather problems for UPS. I know I had a package delayed in Minnesota. I'm not quite sure what's going on that's delaying packages. But we are hoping that that arrives tomorrow, so we can start our fundraiser.
Cool, was that candy and cookies or something?
Yeah,
Leo?
a whole catalog of stuff
Yeah.
like that. We did raise quite a bit last year, and we're able to greatly reduce what we charged for the ski lessons and help pay for field trips. We want to do swimming lessons next year, so we're hoping that we raise enough money to help with all those things next year. Any questions?
Okay. General purpose, public input. Any non-agenda items?
I've got a couple of things.
Okay.
My name is Jason Oberquell. I'm the parent of Abigail and Bergen. We've been noticing that there's been a lot of traffic going around the school buses lately. We talked to the truant officer up here. He's actually getting a reckless driving ticket if it goes around the bus because they have to mandatory go into the office or into the courts. Well, my concern is more about the signage. Is there any, maybe this summer we can look into maybe getting at least one more sign on that straight stretch there? Because people do come around that Mill Creek area and they just bolt it. Even though that the school bus is way on the other side, they'll just keep going. And I've even sat out in the middle of traffic one time and pointed at a guy to stop, and they just don't care.
Well, we get
Specifically on
signs
the
out
highway?
that says,
Yeah.
slow down, calling 911.
Well, I called personally on the FedEx driver, and I took them 2 weeks to call me back, but I haven't seen the FedEx driver at their home. So they obviously did something, but it's just it's safety.
So
It's all about
do
the
we have
safety.
road signs?
There's one coming west, but I don't see one going east. If it is, it's on
So
the other
does
side.
the one does that
That's where the bus is at.
slow it down at all when it goes this direction? But
Yeah, but the bus is normally there, so it slows them down anyways, but it's just coming this way.
so where would you want another sign?
Just right before Mill Creek. Right around that
On
corner.
this side, going
Mhm.
that way.
So I can talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Not to make any action or anything, but
Yeah.
to talk about what we have done. So we put up that new sign, we got the county to put it up.
Yeah, the one on the east side.
And the county will put it up when there's a blocked view of the stop, is what they told me, because we worked with them. I can call them again and see if they'll do additional signage, but the reason they put up that sign was the blocked view of the bus stop.
Okay.
But I can call again, and Beach can also call and see what they can do, but they're pretty particular, the county is, about where they will put signage. course, you know, we'd love to have more signs. I'd
Yeah.
love to have like slow down in front of the school and stuff, because I see the same thing. I mean, I see motorcycles and vehicles going over 100 miles per hour on this highway. The other thing that we've done, so Chris is our SRO, so him and I have been
Yeah.
working together on this. So we not only reached out to the sheriff's department and have had additional patrols, but we've also reached out to the Montana Highway Patrol, and we're trying to get them to come up there and do more patrols. That is difficult to get highway patrol in this area. They will come once in a while. On Friday, we did get a sheriff out to patrol and follow the bus in an unmarked vehicle. So we did that on purpose, because a lot of times they see those marked vehicles and right away people won't do anything wrong. So we deliberately had an unmarked police vehicle following the bus on Friday. So trying to increase that awareness, but it is a problem.
Yes, okay, thank you, that's all I needed for now, appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Old business. Pay for grant services.
A little bit about that. So we had the opportunity, OTI chose us to be able to apply for the Montana Literacy Grant, which is a huge amount of money and great opportunity for our district. I realized with the short timeline that we had and the opportunity that this would bring to our district, that I needed some help. I am teaching, you know, quite a bit and a lot of other things going on. I also have not personally written this grant before. So I actually looked and found a person that has wrote the grant twice successfully and received it for districts.
Both times?
Both times. So her name is Amelia. She lives up in Troy. And so we got her working on the grant for us. This grant is $1 million over 5 years for the school district. It could be one of the largest grants this district's ever received. I didn't want to chance it with, you know, having my rushed effort, make it so we didn't get the grant. So Amelia's been working on this. We are almost done and ready to submit the grant. We are really hopeful that since the district has never received the grant, and that we're a rural school, that we have a really good chance. She's done a fantastic job inserting data tables. It's probably a 25 pages written grant. So my hope is that she's agreed to write this for $2,000 for the district and only receive $2,000 more if we actually receive the grant. I got quotes from two different people. She was the cheaper of the two and she had the most experience. So my hope is that you would agree to pay for writing this grant for us.
When do they decide?
Yeah, so we submit it, the day is the 14th, and then we don't have a day
When they
to
decide?
decide. It could be as late as May. I'm hoping it's a lot sooner.
That they will decide? Wow, that's nice to know. Is that the one that includes, okay, you were saying you had outdated, materials, curriculum materials and stuff? This one would cover those materials?
Materials, professional development for teachers, a mentor coach to come in and help teachers, travel to the professional development, all of that, as well as help pay salaries for the district. It's a huge opportunity for us, so I'm really hopeful that we receive that.
Do you wanna make a motion to accept, the payment to that, $2,000 for now and then another $2,000 if we get it?
Okay.
So we wouldn't pay the $2,000 if we didn't,
Unless
but
we
we're
were-
there for $2,000. Okay.
Okay, so, I make a motion to, let's see, I suppose pay Amelia Downey to write our grant for the, Montana Reads Literacy Grant. And another 2,000 contingent on us getting accepted for the grant, receiving the grant, thank you.
All say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay, the open trustee position. Okay. I know John said in the past that they've put that up for 30 days. I think last week we found out, or last meeting, we found out who was running, and that was Danica and Eden, and both you guys are signed up to run. And are you guys both on the same 3-year one? And did you sign up too? Did you?
Yeah,
I did.
You had the one.
They're on
Okay.
3, I got her 1, yeah.
Okay.
That's
So,
right.
okay, well, I know that, John said in the past that they've put that, up for announcement, that, to announce it for anybody to, that wanted to serve on that position. I think that since we're so close right now, I'd just like to see us vote one of these gals in for now.
Yeah.
Do you wanna make a motion for?
I would like to caution the board, just the lawyer voice, and Via's training for me is it is best to follow past practices whenever you can.
What I don't like about that though is that our policies do not state that. Our policies state that it should be done, so since we didn't do that last meeting, I suggest that we just vote somebody in for now, cause you got an election in May, so that would put, today's February, or March, I mean, so you'd have April. There's really no point in doing it if you don't do it now. But it also said here that you got 60 days, should the board fail to fill the vacancy within 60 days, that the county and superintendent should appoint in writing for person, so I don't know.
Well, and what would happen because of the dates is if nobody was appointed today or in April, we would just wait for the election results in May. It wouldn't even move on to the county suit because it's just, we'd run out of time for that step to even happen.
Okay.
So it's either you guys, make the decision now, or you follow past precedent, put it out there, put it on the website, put it out for, if anybody else happens to be out there that would want to, and then you appoint for the one meeting in April, and then the election takes the.
There is one more option, is that you have a special meeting before the next board meeting.
Either way, it's just gonna be for April,
I don't see why that's necessary.
What is the caution of voting someone in temporarily? I don't understand.
To give the public notice and the chance to apply to you in case there's other people out in the community that wanted to be appointed.
Okay. And if someone did, but we voted somebody in temporarily, what is the risk?
They'd have to sign up to, like you guys do, to be on the board. They'd have to have an election. They would be in a position to be elected like you elected at this point.
Okay.
Best to give notice whenever you can.
Okay. Well, I would prefer to just do it.
Right now.
I would like to.
Okay,
It's temporary, and then we have a proper election.
yeah. Why don't you make a motion?
Okay, let's see here. Until May, is that right?
Yeah, until the next election would be it would be a temporary position.
I would just say motion until the
next
election.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion to elect Eden until the next election in May.
I think you'd probably,
Appoint. Sorry.
should we vote on it, cause you got Danica and Eden wanting.
Eden does my vote.
Eden has your vote,
Yes,
so you make a motion to elect Eden?
I do.
Okay, I second that. All in favor of? Aye. Okay, Eden, pull up a chair. You're on. Okay.
I didn't even bring it.
Okay, levy election. Let's see.
When is the date we need to notify the county of running?
So I just got that information, it was March, it's like March 21st, March 21st, so the end of next week, we need to know what we're running and for how much. That gives them a chance to finalize their language in a couple weeks to print ballots before they're sent out.
Do you think that people are gonna vote, last time they didn't wanna vote in 20,000, right?
So here's what I did, if you look at the little chart that I made,
Yeah.
the highlighted portions are the ones that keep a $600,000 home under $100 a year. So even if we did $5,000, the general fund levy lives on and will help us for the years to come. So like a $5,000 levy, it's on a $300,000 house, it's an extra $15.55 a year. $600,000 home, $31. It's not a huge amount, but every little bit helps, especially with our numbers have been going down. In the funding formula, it's kind of a building block that always stays there. It kind of bumps us up that little bit every year. Also to keep in mind, our building reserve levy has one more year. So for the 26-27 year, it will be gone. And that's $70,500 a year levy?
70,500.
17,500, I believe is what it is a year. And so that will be going away. It'll be on fourth year. And so if we're running an election anyway. If we're gonna have to pay the bill to run the election, I say we try maybe a little something. Nothing crazy, nothing, I mean, maybe we were shooting for the moon, 20,000.
So this will be on people's tax bills forever once it's on.
It'll be part of the funding formula, yeah. I mean, of course, those things fluctuate as kiddos, if we get more kiddos, then it's offset by, things, but yes, it does help our school out every year that every little bit that gets voted in will help us into future.
So something to think about is, there's a possibility we might get this grant, but there's a possibility we might not. I've also got another agenda item that I'm gonna talk about, a possibility to make some money and whatnot. But the reality is, with our reduced enrollment, we were $40,000 short, going to be $40,000 short last year, and we're looking at 50,000 projected for next year.
Yeah. We're still,
50,000 short? So what you're saying?
Reduced amount.
and that's only because we're still floating on the 3-year average. If we were running on strictly our current enrollment, it would be much, much uglier. Yeah, we need kiddos.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's completely up to you guys. I completely would understand if you were like, not this time around. I think timing wise next year honestly does make better sense. But if you were to do it, I would think very small for this year.
Yeah.
And make it something where, somebody's like, okay, my tax bill values my house at $300,000. I can afford 3 coffees worth for this year. But completely up to you guys.
Well, part of me is like, if we don't ask, we're not gonna get anything. But I think if we did ask, it needs to be both.
What are you thinking? Last year was 20 and it didn't go through. Do we go for 2,000 this year?
I don't know what people would want, so those are the taxes that
I don't know if it'd be worth to do more than less than 5.
Really, okay.
I mean, another strategy could be to not ask till next year and be able to tell people our building reserve is going away.
Yeah.
We're not actually asking for any money, we're gonna ask for the same amount for the building reserve. That could be a strategy, bank it now. I've done that before. I banked several years and went to taxpayers and said, okay, we haven't asked for anything in 5 years.
That might be a good strategy.
But yeah, next year we could go to taxpayers and say, okay, well, we're not actually gonna raise any taxes, we're just asking for the building reserve that's expired.
Okay.
Which the building reserve has been huge, that has gotten new roofs on all these buildings, they're remodeling the bathrooms, I mean, that's helped pay for a lot of things.
How does that work, the building reserve? I don't understand what that means.
There's two portions of the building reserve fund. So we get permissive monies, which essentially, we can levy without going to the voters. The great part about that is, we get a total of, it's almost $20,000 every year, of which we only ask our voters to pay for about 4,000 of it, and then the state's major maintenance fund picks up the rest.
Okay.
And so we get this nice chunk of money with our taxpayers not getting hit for very much of it. Then there's a voted levy, which is what we're in the midst of right now, where what we did was a $75,000 levy broken out over 4 years.
Okay.
And so, like I said, I think it's 17.5 if I'm doing my math right, or maybe it was 70,000. Anyway, and so they're hit for smaller portions at a time. But those are the only two ways to put money into the building reserve fund. You're either permissively levying through the tools that the state has given you, or you're going to your voters and asking.
The how do you say that?
Permissive?
Permissive levying, is that guaranteed money?
That is money, it's kind of like our transportation fund. Our transportation fund, we need a certain amount of money. We permissively levy what we need. We don't have to ask the voters for it.
Okay.
There's not many funds that do that. We do that in retirement fund, transportation fund, and building reserve.
Okay.
And the tuition fund. That's gonna become more of a bigger player now too with the legislature passages of things in 23. So,
Okay.
but
What do you think about that? Do you think we ought to try and go for another levy or hold off for another year?
And what did you say last year?
Last year we had one for 20,000 and it was voted
Which
down.
was considered low.
Yeah, pretty low.
And you said what would you consider being like, you said it wouldn't be worth going less than
I think you're gonna do at least the 5 on here, which is pretty minimal in the grand scheme of things, but.
But then that almost sounds ridiculous to go to get it, to me, it
Yeah.
does. Why would you go get a levy for $5 grand?
Well, because for every kiddo we lose that much, and I mean, it's.
Can we ask for, can we ask you?
You can ask for.
Can I have a
Yeah,
question?
yeah.
I have a
What's
question.
your question?
So like, if we were to get the grant, when would we publicize that money? Because that might affect voters voting.
The problem is we don't know when we're gonna get that.
Okay.
It'll be after.
But would we
It'll
get
be after the
notification
election.
of that before we had to put,
It's,
petition our
OPI has not told us when they'll let us
Okay.
know for the grant. People I know at OPI say probably May.
okay.
I guess it depends on how safe you wanna be. I mean, the safe
Right.
thing is to ask for money knowing we're gonna be short.
Is there any harm in asking?
I'm just saying it might tick off the public if,
The only thing is, we've asked for a couple of years, so the building reserve fund passed 3 years ago. And we've asked a couple times in the last 5 years for a general fund levy, it has never passed. And what we have working against us, we have the lowest taxable value of any school district in the county, which the lower the taxable value, the more mills you need in order to raise money, the higher the taxes are for smaller amounts of money. And it makes it that much harder for us to ask for money because even small amounts can sometimes feel bigger than they should. So that is something we have working against us always.
Part of it is kind of getting a sense of what the community would like to do. Trying to ask around and whatnot. That was part of my campaign of only asking for half the amount we needed last year. And I actually went on K-PAX and did an interview with them, presented to county council about that. Seemed pretty well received, that we were only asking for half the amount we needed. But yeah, that still wasn't enough to get passed, so.
failed the past 5 years, right? It seems as though.
And we haven't asked every year, but
Okay.
the couple times we have, it has failed for the general fund.
You guys just wanna hold off?
That's my thought.
Okay, let's just hold off on that one then. We're gonna have to raise some money this year, though. Okay, fencing project.
Yeah, so we've been talking about this for a while. So Jan and I talked, and I reached out to 2 companies for quotes and got some pretty different quotes. I reached out to Turkey Creek Fencing and Grizzly Fence. So I've attached that here for the different quotes with different options. I asked for just repairing the fence with the lumber that I bought last year and I've still got out there. I asked for a new wood post and rail fence and then a steel or metal fence. And then Grizzly also did a chain link as well. So you can see for a whole new fence, it'd be a lot of money. I guess is the bottom line. One company for just repairing using the lumber we had was only $4,150. That seems pretty reasonable. The other company for just repairing using our lumber was $16,500. So a pretty big difference there between companies.
Okay, I had the Randall Construction came in this last weekend too, and they were willing to do all 4 sides. And pressure wash it and light wire brush it with the solid base stain to protect the wood longer would be $9,200, and that would be our whole fence. Other than, I think we would need to get some of our neighbors together to fix that fence out there.
Or if you wanted to have Turkey Creek do the $4,000 for the repair and then have the other company paint it and treat it and whatnot.
Yeah, so then that would be 16, that would be 41,500 and 92, that would be 13,000. I don't know, I talked to Jonah the other day though, he thought it'd be pretty easy to do that if we got some guys together with some screw guns, if we had like a, if we could get 4 or 5 guys with screw guns and get some screws and he could pound those posts in, he said he had a new post pounder, but he wanted to do round ones instead of the square ones. I don't think that'd hurt if we're gonna power wash and paint it. We could do that fence for $9,200, I think. The whole thing, and it'd look better than it does now. The bad part is it's not gonna last forever. There's a lot of, eventually we're gonna have to get it done. In which case, my thought was, and I don't know, my husband hates me for thinking these kind of thoughts, but my thought was, if we did the 3 sides, did the spray paint, power wash and do the 3 sides, put a metal fence out there with just metal posts and wire, but I don't have a bid for that, but I'd rather pay $4,000 for that than another. Then you got that, at least one side out there that's done, because these other 3 aren't gonna last forever. I'd be surprised if they last another 10 years.
So one thing that was told to me that makes sense is just a regular chain link wouldn't be recommended because of the cost.
Yeah.
They did recommend doing what the ranch already has if we're gonna do metal and do steel pipe.
Yeah, yeah.
Which you can see is.
Do we have $60,000 to?
No.
We do
No,
not.
no,
I don't think we did.
no, but I know that I can give
You
it
can mark
money.
that one right
I know
off
that.
there.
So what's the difference between
So
your bid?
why do we need $50,000, right?
Did anybody give you a bid on just a traditional, ranch fence, like say steel post, woven wire, couple strands of barbed wire on top?
They didn't do that. We really can't be having barbed wire.
Kids,
School didn't
keep
recommend.
them in.
It'll keep the kids out of it.
Razor wire, razor
But you
wire.
could do like hog wire.
The
stuff
other
like
thing that I
for a
think
lot
we need
cheaper.
to do is also let Scott know. I mean,
Scott's, I already talked to Scott, it's on, he'll write the check for what we need. But what I talked to him about was this here, I was like, what do you think on doing that? Basically, he said, get those guys up the ranch to help do it.
okay, with the repair.
You have all three guys here to help you.
Well, and I think if we announced it, what if we announced it in the school for the parents to come up and help, and we could have a potluck afterwards or something, if we give a Saturday.
You can make an announcement.
You should do that, Jim.
Get a few.
I think we should.
Beef for burgers or something?
Yeah.
We could bring a grill over.
I think we need to do
Joe
that.
would love that.
Could we do that in April?
Yeah, I think so. If the weather permits.
Easter is in April, just saying.
Easter's in April?
That might, and so, a lot of our parents are shuttling
Gone.
kids for sports. We have a lot of kids that
Like a
league
Saturday?
sports.
When's Easter's
The
what?
20th.
Is the 20th?
So are you saying the $4,000 and then have them do something else? Is that what we're saying?
No, I think, what I'm wondering is, okay, so the $4,000 was the fence repair. So that we wouldn't need that $4,000 if the guys came up and did it. We might need a little bit more than of that, what Jonah said was he could get a bundle of those round posts and those will pound in easy. He says, oh, we can pound those in a couple hours, and if you guys got some guys with screw guns, we could take those boards out there, screw those in and get that done, and then those guys could come in and power wash and paint it. It'll look nice, you know?
I have a question. Do we want to paint it? If we're putting up new stuff, staining is a lot easier and a lot cheaper and just as
It is a
easier
solid
to
base stain.
maintain.
What he said was a solid base
I would
stain.
use a stain and not a paint.
Yeah,
That way you don't have to scrape the paint,
yeah,
but that's,
yeah, so he said solid base stain to protect the woodwork. What do you think? Should we go with that Randall? And then the guys take care of the repair? Ron? You got a screw gun? So does Jason.
I'm already gonna be volunteering. so yeah.
Jason's got well, there's 5 guys right there.
So Jan, can I ask this question? The quote for treating the fence and whatnot, is the district gonna need to pay for that or?
where's Scott?
Well, then
We
I
got
think
it
that
covered.
makes the decision.
So
All right.
why-
We got it covered.
If it's covered, you said, I thought you said it was $9,000. Am I not understanding that?
Yeah, Scott said he'd cover it for us.
Oh,
Scott Osmond
why
said
make
he.
a motion?
I asked him.
It's motion quick.
I asked him if he would go $10,000 for a fence, and he says, "Just let me know, Jan."
Good lord.
So,
Okay, yeah,
I
let's
think
do
we
that.
ought to do that 10,000 on the fence.
Well, I
and get
didn't
it done.
realize it was free.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion to hire out Scott.
No, Randall Construction.
Well, I mean, if he's actually paying the bill,
We don't even need to have him do.
Right.
Okay. So we just need to know if we can have a potluck then and have a date.
Make a motion to potluck.
We have to have a motion for a potluck.
We just wanna eat.
no. So I think no action is.
Okay, because there's no money thing. for-
Well, we could have a day though, a work day.
I work better for the people.
How about April
Yeah.
26th for a work day? That's a week after Easter.
I told Joe he should be there too.
Do we do 4/26, have a,
The only thing that I do make sure is to announce it to the public, just so we can get it on our calendars and
yeah,
make sure that we're here.
yeah.
We might
so-
have more success if you make it a Friday night.
Yes, that's true.
So-
How much time is gonna be needed to?
By that time it'll be dark about 9 o'clock. It's
Yeah,
already
That's
dark
true,
at
that's
8:30.
true, That's true. Just come after school.
Like.
And whoever wants to come on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon can come back and work too.
I know the guys would start early, but if that's is that a school day?
No, weekend, and I know those guys, Randall Construction said they could do it on a Saturday too, if we had a date.
Should we double check with the ranch though first?
No, we
Yeah.
already got it covered.
Yeah, but what about
Scott
those
said
workers?
just tell them to come on up there, Joe, And Jonas said a Saturday work as long as it wasn't a weekday. He thought the weekday was kinda tough, but I don't know if it'd be tough on the evening.
As long as, they'll just, basically all they have going on right now is cabin, and then it's just general upkeep. So as long as someone can sneak over and make sure nothing's cabbing and sneak back, that's
So,
all they have going on.
so would a Friday?
Friday or Saturday would work either way. Cause I would be here until it's done anyways, even if I start on Friday, I would be back the next Sunday or the next Saturday.
Yeah, Friday's kind of a rough night for me.
So Saturday the 26th.
I say Saturday morning, the 26th.
What time?
Morning,
9,
Nine?
9 a.m.
Okay.
I always like to get up and work tomorrow.
Workday for the
Should
fence.
should we do a noonish lunch, or should we do an evening, do you think?
I would say noon.
Maybe
Noon?
Yeah.
Noon
Okay.
potluck?
Hopefully it won't take all day, we're just preparing.
Okay,
And I'll talk to Jonah about bringing over some burger.
okay,
Okay, cool.
Throw some, bring a grill over and throw some stuff in.
okay.
So workday on April 26, 9 a.m. and then noon potluck. And if you, I'll help cook burgers or something. Okay, can we get together to plan a potluck? That's not,
Well, technically, I mean, you'd have to make it a committee meeting and invite the public,
okay.
but,
Can you just announce it?
yeah.
And just put something like bring a side dish or a dessert?
Yep.
And I'll talk to you about doing some drinks or something too.
Yeah, the school can do it.
Okay, you take care of
You can take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll put it up.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Major facility projects.
Yeah, so I just wanted to start the discussion, about facility projects for this summer. So last summer, we remodeled the bathrooms in this building. If we do want to do a major project, I need to start getting quotes now for summer. So some things we've talked about already are the doors, and I have one quote for that, but I wanna get more. The doors are certainly a bit of a problem, a lot of them stick. One is rusting out, certainly.
Are they metal doors?
So these are wooden in this building, the rest are all metal. Industrial doors are expensive, I learned. The other part is that a lot of them have door fobs, so we also have to rewire any new doors with the electronic door fobs. So that's an added expense.
So it's the wooden ones that need replaced?
None of the metal ones is rusting out, and some repairs need the metal ones too. So that's one thing.
Okay.
The other thing that we've talked about is we've done all new roofs in the past 5 years except for building one.
Yeah.
How old do you think building one is?
Building one, the last time we had somebody up there, I don't know how old it is, I know, last time they had somebody up there, it wasn't any sort of emergency. Yeah,
There's been no leaks, it doesn't look like.
yeah, it's, there was no big emergency to, it's something that could probably hold off easily 2 or 3 more years without a whole lot of, unless something develops that is unexpected. It really wasn't in horrible shape the last time they looked at it. And they looked at that one when they replaced the last roof, which was
And
not
this-
last summer, but the summer
So
before.
both of these two roofs have been done?
Have been done.
So, okay.
Yeah, I think we're all caught up on windows too.
I would
There are a few
recommend
windows.
putting some kind of protection on my windows on the end of the building, cause they've come close to being broken already.
Those are expensive.
For some reason, they're screening on that building, but not on the end of this building. So, I mean, and those aren't necessarily exit windows for fire escape anyways.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't hurt to screen or put some
Put
kind
something
of
on
metal on there to protect them.
Yeah, you got the wind coming flying in, yeah.
windows probably wouldn't be too much, there's just a few windows. Another thing would be the carpet hasn't been replaced in building 1, but has been replaced in buildings 2 and 3. So that carpet, definitely out of date and ripped up in several spots. The other would be if we wanted to remodel anything else, with the bathrooms in this building, if we wanted to remodel the bathrooms, if we wanted to do some of the cabinets in several of the buildings need remodeled. So there's different things that we could do. So I just wanted to get it on everyone's radar to do some thinking.
Do we have money for these,
There's the building reserve fund.
the 17?
Plus another 20 on top of that from this levy. So it always ends up being about, I would say 35,000.
And there's only one more year on that building reserve, unless it does get voted back in, so that's something to think about too. But we won't necessarily have that type of money moving forward unless when there's voted.
And those permissive levies, you can roll them over. So if we decide in 3 years we wanna do the roof, it's gonna be more than the amount of one permissive levy in a year. We can save a portion of the year before and roll
So
it
we
over.
don't-
Yeah, you can build it up.
Okay.
You don't have to spend it out every year.
Okay. Anything else on the facility projects?
I think that's about it. I'll probably try to keep working on quotes for doors, and then you guys think on anything else you might wanna get quotes on.
And,
More action later.
Yeah, probably the carpet too. Are you thinking about the cabinets in that other building? Or what cabinets are
I
you-
haven't done an inventory, quite a few of them could use some
Alright. Okay, legislative updates.
So we had a bill not long ago that would have actually closed all the elementary school districts. That bill is tabled and remains to be tabled. That was House Bill 814. So that actually would have dissolved hundreds of school districts in our state. So we would have merged with MCPS, but it also would have dissolved all the independent boards as well. So instead of having boards combined or whatnot, it actually would have dissolved all the school boards as well as the schools. That would have meant probably a lot of school districts' properties would have been sold. I doubt MCPS would hold on to the 8 school
They'd be
districts.
busing them.
They'd be
to-
busing them.
Busing to one.
Luckily, that remains tabled. Hopefully, it does not come back. They're running out of time. I think they have less than a month to be able to do action on things. Some good news. We have had some progress in school funding through bills. Pleased to report that House Bill 15, which addresses school inflation, is advancing, so it's not through both the House and the Senate, but it's looking like it will get there. That'll give a 3% inflation to funding for schools from the state.
Is that 3% per student then? Or what's that 3% on?
I do not know the exact answer on the 3%. It's state funding.
I don't, it's built into the pieces of the funding formula. And they're messing with a few different things with the funding formula this year. So you've got HB 15 is every year they have, every legislative session, they have an HB 15 is the standard one that breaks out how much you get per kiddo, how much you get per school, quality educator, data for achievement, Indian all that sort of stuff. It's all lumped into that one bill. This time around, they're tweaking the quality educator portion of it, and John's probably going to be talking about that next, with the STARS Act, that will, if you meet certain criteria, you'll get double the quality educator payment. So right now, we get a certain amount for every teacher, administrator, with the new setup, you get twice that for each one of those. Which is great, it gives us a nice little chunk of change. The problem is we've lost enough kids that suddenly all that lovely new money that we would have gotten if our numbers had stayed stable kind of goes away, kind of balances it out. But
I believe it's 3% for state funding across the board, but I don't know if there's exceptions for certain pieces of that. The next bill I wanna talk about is House Bill 252, and that is the STARS Act. That's a bill that I've really been helping folks promote. It will bring $55 million to schools above and beyond that 3%, not only for the teacher quality payments that Jessica just talked about, but also for CTE, several programs. This bill was written by Lou Jones out of Conrad, and definitely will really help school funding.
What is CTE?
Career technical education. So there's quite a few different aspects of this that's really gonna help schools. The one kicker to looking at things is that to qualify for some of the funding, you have to increase the teacher base pay, and we've actually got an agenda item that'll talk about that. There's also been some tax relief bills actually working on relieving tax payers' money, but actually helping schools. So if you can look up all that information, House Bill 156, there's some great information on there. MTSBA actually sends out emails that you should be getting with lots and lots of information on them you could probably ever read. There's just been quite a few positive bills for schools. One that would benefit us is funding for 6th graders. That's House Bill 339. As middle school students, right now 6th grade is funded as elementary. Middle school students get a little bit more money, so that would help with funding for us. House Bill 405, increasing transportation reimbursements rates, that would help us with money for transportation. Quite a few different bills here.
Help with the bus costs?
So we do get a portion back from the state for running the routes that we ran. So like for the first semester, our payment from the state is a little over $9,000, which pays for a little over a month's worth of transportation. We get that twice a year. So we make 9 payments, so it's like the state pays for 7, or 2 of them would be paid for 7 of them, which makes it a little better. But yeah, if they bump that up, that would help kind of offset the local taxpayer burden.
So a lot going on. Will continue to be, it's getting down to the wire. A lot of times they're having 80 bills a day go through. So they are keeping pretty busy. Definitely some bills that are pretty interesting, but those are kind of the ones that would help with funding that I wanted to talk about today.
Is there any bills that we should be paying attention to that could possibly hurt except for that major one that,
that was.
Besides that one, is there any other ones that we should be paying attention to?
Not particularly that come to mind for me. That was the big one
Okay.
where I really wanted to have people know. I mean, that would have closed our doors.
Absolutely.
There's certainly some that definitely are not beneficial, but not to the point of closing us down. But great question. So that's what I have for the legislative update.
Okay, new business. Permissive levy resolution.
So, permissive levies apparently seems to be the theme of the night. So just so you know, there's a different version in here than the one I originally sent you, and that's because the tuition fund I had to tweak a little bit. So, we have 3 funds that we permissively levy in: transportation, and that's just based on our transportation needs. And I do take into account the state's portion and all that when that's calculated. So we're looking at, these are rough numbers, roughly a $5,000 increase next year to run the routes that we run. Tuition is a new one. We have not traditionally levied anything in the tuition fund. The 2023 legislature changed how tuition is done in the state. He's like, okay, sounds good.
He's wide awake now.
So yeah, traditionally we've not done any sort of permissive levy in the tuition fund. We haven't had a need to. The 2023 legislature changed how out-of-district students and tuitions are paid. Parents no longer have to foot the bill for any sort of tuition payment. The way it's set up is any kiddos that we have from other school districts, we then bill that school district during the next school year. Yeah, it's a few minutes there. For the tuition amounts, and those are the tuition that you pay to another district is paid for out of the tuition fund, and then
So working for you, Jill.
I'm trying.
Oh,
You have entertainment.
it's a value deficit.
oh boy. Mama mia.
Right? Okay. And so any money that
I did find
any money okay. I lost track, sorry. So kiddos that we have from other schools, so we have kiddos from Lolo. So what we will do is, for those kiddos that we have this year from Lolo, we will bill them for tuition next year. And they will pay in December and June
For this year.
for this year's amount, for this year's kiddos. And that money, they pay out of their tuition fund, we put it into our general fund. They're now adding that as part of the general fund formula, the tuition monies from other districts. So we have, I believe, a total of 10 kiddos from other districts. We have 4 kiddos that are from our district going to other districts. And so that means we have to pay tuition to those school districts for those kiddos, which is why I have a $4,200 increase in the tuition fund in there, is to cover that money that we'll have to pay out. We have kiddos at Lolo and we have a kiddo at Target Range.
So it costs more for us to send those kids there than for them to send here because of the.
It doesn't necessarily cost more. What it does is, the kiddos we have coming in, we get tuition for, we also get to count them for A and B. So we get additional general fund funding by having them here. When we have kiddos leave, we do have to pay a tuition amount, but that's it. So we definitely gain from having kiddos come in. The new aspect of it is we now have to pay for kiddos that are going out.
So bottom line is you don't want kids going home.
You don't want kids going out.
Yeah, so that.
But it's the way they set it, and I don't know why they set it up the way they did. So you permissively levy in your tuition fund, you pay it out of that, but when the money comes in from other schools, it goes into the general fund. So it's not even like you can do, okay, I've got 4, they've got 4, it's a wash. You can't even do it that way because they're going to completely separate funds. So there will be a new line for taxpayers on the tax bill for the tuition fund for Woodman that's completely out of our hands. We are required to do it. And like I was talking with the business manager at Lolo, they have like 84 kiddos. So or 80 some kiddos. They're gonna be permissively levying like $86,000 in their tuition fund to pay for the kiddos that are going elsewhere.
So
So
the good thing is we don't have
many.
leaving, and we're bringing in a lot more
Yes.
than are leaving. And I did personally reach out to those families that are leaving us to encourage them to come back and whatnot. One works near Target Range, and that's why they go there. One and then the other one, a staff member, works at Lolo, so that's why they bring their kids there. So trying to bring anyone back.
We need to hope they lose their jobs.
But then they'd have the option of homeschooling,
Mhm.
which
Well, that's
they've
good too.
done
Yeah, well, that's true too.
So I don't think we're gonna get those 3 kids back.
Yeah, probably not.
Then the other fund is the building reserve, which I just put this, like I said, these are such rough numbers. We're required to put this together and pass a resolution now, per the legislature back in 2017, I think is when we started this. So I just put a placeholder of $500 in there for the building reserve. It's always a small adjustment to that number that we have to levy. So that levy's already pretty much built into the tax bill. When you get your taxes, you're not really gonna see a whole lot of difference when it comes to that building reserve fund. But yeah, those are the 3 permissively levied funds that we have. And so what happens is you guys approve the resolution. It needs to be printed in the newspaper before March 31st. So this will go into the Saturday edition right before the end of the month. And then we've met the requirements under the law. But these are all gonna change. By the time the budget rolls around in August, these numbers will be at least a little bit.
So is there a reason then that we need to pass this now?
Yes, it's required, we have to have it done by the end of March.
Okay.
Or we can't levy in those funds. That's
So
the
then
kicker.
we wouldn't be able
We
to.
wouldn't be able to run a bus, we wouldn't be able to, yeah.
Okay.
It's completely honestly nonsensical. The fact that have it do it in March for something that's so far away, it's supposed to be for transparency's sake, but it's not really,
But we don't
it's
even
not
know
really
if these
transparent in any
figures,
sort of real way.
so we don't know if the figures are even accurate.
They're not.
It's the
I can
same
tell
one,
you,
but just higher.
they're not. They're a complete shot in the dark.
Wow. We wanna make a resolution, sounds like it has to be done. Or I mean, make a motion
Yeah,
to increase the,
Just approve the permissive levy resolution.
okay, I make a motion to approve the permissive levy resolution.
opposed? So moved. Okay, item disposal, Chromebooks.
So we have a stack of Chromebooks that are end of life. Chromebooks are only maintained for a certain amount of years, which is why they're much cheaper than say a laptop. We contract with Technologic, a technology company, and they've told me that these are just no longer usable. We actually have quite a few extra Chromebooks because we are down in numbers of students. So they have recommended recycling, doing e-recycling for these. They tell me there really isn't any value, so I would just ask for your approval to e-recycle these Chromebooks.
And do we have new ones coming, or?
So we actually have a surplus of extra ones. We've actually got about 15 extra ones, so we don't really need to buy any at this point. These are pretty old, they're like 7 years old or so.
We will make a motion to dispose of the Chromebooks.
Sure, I make a motion to, approve the recycling of the Chromebooks listed on the.
All in favor of? Opposed? So moved. Policy 5338.
So this goes back to the legislative update. So we need to be able to take advantage of the extra money from the state. We have a deadline to say that we will increase our base teacher pay, which is the qualification to be able to take advantage of that. Luckily at Woodman, there's not a huge gap between the base pay and what the state is asking. But to be able to get in on this extra money, we need to change our policy now and say that we will meet that base pay. We need to do that before we even decide about increasing salaries and wages. I would wait till after the legislative session to make those type of decisions. But at this point, if we don't do this now, then we are out and we don't even have a chance for this money.
So what's the increase percentage? now to meet that?
So you have to be at 40,
41,615 it would be the base. And so what it is when you look at individual teachers, we have 2 teachers that are already above that, and 1 teacher that would be bumped up a little bit. We can do a pretty easy manipulation of the salary schedule as it stands in order to get there. And then once the legislature, finishes up and we know where we stand, then we can see about, an actual tweaking of the salary.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we'll be able to get there pretty easy.
What do you wanna make a motion to accept policy to meet the base pay? Competitive teacher base pay.
Yes, I make a motion to accept the policy of the, competitive teacher base pay.
All in favor of? Aye, so, opposed, so moved.
it is great because talking with other districts, the teacher pay is so much lower that there's no way they can even do this, so they're gonna miss out on that money.
I'm glad we've only got to bump up one to make it happen. Yeah. Okay, contract with Harmony Education Services.
So I have been working on trying to find money for the district, and this is one of my ideas, talking to other districts. So to give you a little bit of background, there's a few districts in the state, primarily, I think they're all in the Bitterroot Valley. Darby, Stevensville, Hamilton, and I think Florence might be doing this. That's partnering with a company to provide distance learning for students that would like to learn at home. So Harmony Education is a company that provides the education on behalf of the district, which is completely computer-based for homeschool families that want to remain at home. So the benefit is that that family is getting a completely free computer-based education for their child. And the benefit for us is that they will enroll at our school, and then we will be able to collect A and B, which is how we make money for students, per student. And then we will pay Harmony per child. So the great thing is, if nobody takes us up on the offer, then we pay Harmony nothing. So I have some flyers I passed out, but I also have a little video to show you from Harmony. It's a quick one.
The national pandemic changed our lives and shaped our world in a different way. This includes how we educate our children. Isn't the goal to provide educational options and personalized learning for all students? Can we propose an option that perhaps you never thought about? First, let me ask you some important questions. As a school, are you constantly looking to build or maintain student enrollment? Is your school constantly looking for additional funding each year? Is your school searching for options to educate students who prefer to learn at home? Would your school like to save money purchasing online curriculum programs? And what about a program that provides certified live online teachers? Harmony Educational Services bridges the gap between home and school. That's right, we provide harmony in today's educational world. We can help you build enrollment, increase your funding, purchase curriculum, create diversity, and provide teachers, all with the flexibility from a student's home. Sounds interesting. Here are some frequently asked questions. How does funding work? In every state, each student receives funding for educational purposes. Harmony takes a percentage of these state funds to perform services and to pass on educational resources to the students. The school receives the remainder of the funding for its part of the partnership. What can the school district funding be used for? Keep in mind that the extra funding going to your school can be used in any way that the school would like to use it. How does this affect teacher retention in our school district? While Harmony does provide teachers, we also work with your existing school to utilize your own teachers if needed. What resources do you offer for SPED students? We can help all students, including students with specific needs, through our Harmony program. To get even more information, please click the link below. After all, intelligent people make intelligent decisions once they get the facts. Let's all create more harmony within our educational world. Standards inform, experiences transform.
An ad. So that's kind of a little sales video there. So some other questions that I asked and wanted to make sure on was that this isn't going to be a burden on teachers, and they provide all of that. So they're providing like a mentor teacher for each child that works with the family, and they do all the grading, all the work. They use a lot of online platforms such as Adventum that we already use, BYU University, different things like that. So they would be students that are enrolled here, but if they were completely home-based, they actually wouldn't receive any of their education from our teachers. The one thing that we would need to do is data entry. So on the back end of it, office staff-wise, either me or our secretary would have to enter things into our student information system, which is Infinite Campus. So that's the one thing the district would have to do. A couple of other things. Families will actually get money for educational expenses. So part of the money that we pay Harmony, we actually give back to that parent to be able to buy textbooks and things like that that they need. So it's a great deal for families.
What would we get for students?
Yeah, great question. So right now, this year, we get $6,307 for an elementary student A and B. We would pay Harmony $3,100. So we would have $3,207 that the district would net. Now, we actually are probably going to get more for A and B with that 3% increase, hopefully. But you're looking roughly a little over $3,000 per student. I was skeptical on this at first. I'm like, well, this just sounds a little too good to be true, and that the district isn't doing, any work and whatnot, and being able to collect this money. So I reached out to some of my colleagues. I talked with Tony down in Darby for a long time, and I'm like, really, is there any drawback and whatnot? He's like, truly no. They picked up 12 children in Darby, and Darby's fairly small. You can see how that, we give extra money. Then I talked to Pete and Corvallis. They picked up over 100 children in Corvallis. And they have kind of a unique situation where they have some different communities with a higher percentage of homeschool. But one thing I do know, right now, no one else in Missoula County is doing this. It's only in Moore Valley County. And I had Jessica run the numbers. We actually only have one student homeschooling in the Woodman School District, but in Lowell, there's 16 students homeschooling. And, Missoula probably even more. Right now, MCPS is not doing this. They do have their own online-based school run through MCPS, but this is a little bit different than that. I think we have potential to possibly bring more money into the district, and there's no risk to the district. So if we pick up no students, we don't pay anything. The other thing that could happen is we could end up picking up somebody and they might want to join us and come to school here. So that's something that in Darby, they started with even more, and several kids actually ended up going to school in the district.
I don't understand how Woodman would be affiliated with the family. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
So do we determine any curriculum through this money or?
No, they
We do not.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're determining the curriculum and they're using curriculum that is approved by the state.
Okay.
So Edmentum is one that we use that's online based. BYU, there's several companies that provide online learning that are both state and nationally approved. So they only use approved things. They actually use a portfolio system if parents wanted to do like their own electives, particularly like for high school. So they could actually keep track of records and prove that to Harmony. And Harmony would make that a class. The great thing we don't have to worry about like high school graduation requirements and whatnot, not being a high school district. So it makes it a lot easier. So if we decided to go with Harmony, what I would do is start advertising this. They would too on their website that we participate in it. I'd like to go around to different homeschool groups and talk to them, let them know about the opportunity. I know Pete Corvallis did that quite a bit. So kind of a great opportunity for families that do homeschool or wanted to be home-based for their education to get totally free online-based education that's approved and make some money for expenses such as textbooks and whatnot, or if they want to buy a computer with that money or
And
whatnot.
homeschooling is very expensive in a lot of cases, like Acellus is a very popular program right now, and it's a lot of money each year for a family, and the state doesn't offer any sort of real availability of funds for curriculum or anything.
So is this like an all or nothing, like say you have a student who's currently homeschooled, who would like to, can they take like elective classes? Like can they do like,
So it's kind of all or nothing.
okay,
But within that, because I asked that question of Harmony,
yeah,
there is that portfolio system where if they're doing like wanting to do their own elective cooking class, they could do that and prove through the portfolio system presenting to the Harmony teacher. And the Harmony, they actually have like a mentor teacher that works with the family directly and lines out their whole course schedule and whatnot. And that teacher takes attendance that the parent reports in and whatnot. So Harmony takes care of all of that.
and I'm assuming parents have like a pretty, cause it sounds like it's a very family oriented kind of a thing. So can they get like full samples of curriculum and things like that through Harmony, or is that just like words mostly?
Most of it's all online, computer based.
Yeah,
But I'm sure that
they'll accommodate.
yeah, I'm sure they'll accommodate it. I think they do a whole meeting and seeing if it's a good fit or whatnot. So really what we're doing is advertising, and then parents will have to fill out our enrollment form. And we'll have to change an enrollment form where it says that you're distance-based through Harmony. The other thing that I would do and bring to the board next, if we decide to approve that, is make a student handbook. And I have an example from Darby that just talks about your expectations and whatnot, talks about the whole program. So it just kind of goes through everything. They talk about like extracurricular sports on the high school level, so we can meet there.
Do those students, if we had them, would have to come for standardized testing or not?
So by state standards, they
Yes,
would.
okay.
Both
Fire
Darby
department.
and Corvallis said that they invited the families to come for testing. There's not a real way to enforce that.
Okay. So they're invited, but they
May or may not show.
may or may not show up. Okay.
And then as far as field trips, activities going on here, is that something we would offer to the candidates if they're considered students?
So that would be a decision that we would have to make within that student handbook just for distance learning.
They play in sports with target range.
If that ever happens, we have to make that decision too. So if we approve the contract today, I would start working on a student handbook and then I would give you that for approval, just like the regular student handbook, but have a separate one for distance learning. And that's where we can make that type of decision.
Do we know how many students in Woodman district are homeschooling, was it just one?
We've got one family right
Oh,
now.
really? One family?
Yeah.
Okay. How many kids?
Well, it doesn't have to be a Woodman family. It
Oh.
could be anywhere in Missoula County if they wanted
really?
to, really. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay.
in Woodman, there's not many.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
So would that work for like PAL, the Idaho side?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. It would because they're
I mean, but they're in
Yeah.
Idaho, so wouldn't the Harmony thing pay for them?
Yeah, if they
Okay.
fill out our enrollment.
Okay.
And this is a unique thing that happens on border towns. If a student enrolls from out of state into a Montana, school, they actually become a Montana child. And Montana ends up paying for them, even though they're from a different state, minus the transportation that Idaho pays out. It's kind of, not every state does that, Montana's pretty generous. Any other questions?
I say we approve it. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I do. What do you guys wanna make a motion? To accept eHarmony? Or not eHarmony? Not that one!
Not that one.
You just went a whole
Just
different direction
Harmony.
right there.
Just Harmony.
Not a lot of proof of that.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the Harmony Educational Services, offered through Woodman.
All second, you say aye. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, so moved. Okay, the creation of a Woodman Foundation. I can go ahead and speak to that. I have been talking with Scott about that. And, he's got his, one of his financial advisors from his company is calling and talking to me, and she's looking for some more information. She also runs his foundation, but in our discussion, he thought that we could probably get more grants to our a Woodman Foundation that would also wouldn't have quite the strings attached to where we could use it for more unless they absolutely stated it was for this amount of, like if Scott wanted to give us $30,000 for a teacher and it said for a teacher, we would still, it would have to be that, go for the teacher, of course, if that's what it was, but it would give some more local control. Or you'd still have to have a board. We did discuss that, I don't think that would be a
Jan,
problem.
would it be a different board than the school board?
Yes.
So there would be a school board
It'd be a
and a
completely
foundation
separate
board?
entity.
Yeah, it would be separate, it wouldn't be under the school at all, so it
Okay.
would be a foundation, a 501c3, that would have the policies and procedures and bylaws that would be to support our school in different areas that would need to be supported, as well as possibly helping with like some of the grants from Gianforte and Washington Court and stuff, might be more inclined as well if we had the foundation, so we're still kind of looking at that.
Do we know if there's any other small school districts that have foundations?
There are.
There are.
So I did reach out to our legal counsel, and she pretty much said, what you said, that an outside party, not the school, would set up a 501c3, and she offered to do that, of course, at cost, for an outside party if they wanted to do that, she could set it up.
Does she have a figure of what that would cost?
I know, I bet it would be about the same as when we were, getting a quote for setting up an official PTO, and I think that is about $1,500.
And the board members have to be within the district, right?
No, no,
Okay,
uh-uh.
okay, cause I
No.
was gonna say it's
It's just a
hard enough
trust.
no, but we would want definitely people that are invested in our area and our school,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Well, that gives us some flexibility.
Yeah, well, yeah, we gotta find money wherever we can find it.
Is that what Darby did with their big donation a few years ago? They had a
Yeah, they had a huge,
donation, did they?
donation that came out, in its inheritance.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure if they funneled it through that or not, but it was millions. But I know there have been several, school districts where people have set this up just like this.
Does anybody know if, by doing a foundation, if people are more willing, to give to the foundation versus, increased tax or a school levy, or is there any information on that?
It sounds like Jan's getting that comment that could be a possibility.
Well, it's a good question. It would be nice to talk to some of these other peoples that do have the foundations and see how that has.
That's what I was wondering, if
Yeah.
there was, what percentage of people just, not big donors or big grants, just everyday, parents.
We have a lady
Oh.
that donates $100 at the end of every year for the library. You know, like she does little things like that.
Yeah.
And the school can always take donations, and they can be specific to certain things and that sort of thing. And it goes into the miscellaneous fund. I track it with the project code and make sure it gets used for what it was supposed to be used for. But yeah, I don't know enough about the foundations, the tax
but a
repercussions and all that.
foundation, could they build a fund that grows interest faster
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Sure.
than?
I build
Yes,
zero interest in
right,
miscellaneous
right.
funds, so yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of looking into the pros and cons on that, and if you've got some school districts that you know do, I would love to talk
I'll
to.
start asking around.
I would love to talk to the, yeah. Okay, information on past and upcoming events, I think you already went over that, right? Okay, before we close, Danica, I just wanna appreciate you for your willingness to serve as well on the board and, you know, being invested in the school, and just wanted to thank you for that as well. Okay, our next regular meeting will be April 14th at 5 p.m. Meeting adjourned.